Hey, Louise, here we are with Susan Kiyo Ito's book, I Would Meet You Anywhere. We are reading two chapters today or discussing two chapters today. Your Mother is Very Nice and The Mouse Room.
Yeah.
So good. I was really
Gosh.
honestly howling in Your Mother is Very Nice. So
So many zingers.
yeah.
Just even the
This is
title.
the
Your mother's
setup is
very
that
nice.
her birth mother, Yumi, has
Mhm.
reached out and she wants to meet Susan's parents. So they're going on Mother's Day when Yumi's in New York.
Yeah.
And so Susan, her parents, her grandmother, and they meet Yumi at a sushi restaurant in New York.
Where her dad's like the king there. He's always orders there
Yeah,
and likes to treat
he
and
takes
Yumi,
clients
he takes
and
clients. And the thing that when they drive up, because Susan's so excited, right?
nervous.
And
I mean,
nervous.
as you would be.
Right.
Yeah.
And when they drive up, she sees her and she's so excited. She's glamorous looking, like so elegant and pretty. And then she's like doing that thing where you're ashamed of your mother.
Uh-huh. And her mom's wearing like a trench
A
coat
trench coat. She called her
and then in the
Columbo.
yeah, Columbo, that's what I wrote. She reminds the disheveled TV detective Columbo, which really made me that was my first laugh. And then
Right.
then because she's like, your coat, mom, and that minus 10 points doesn't know how to act in a restaurant.
Oh, and it's
Which
so awkward. She has to sit like between them. And then,
right, it's
no,
her with Yumi and her
yeah,
grandma on one side and then her parents on the other side. And then uh,
the dad is like taking forever to park the car. And she can tell when there's so many little funny things. She can tell when her dad walks up that her mom wants to go, where are you? But right away, Yumi's like, oh, don't worry about it. Like all this. And the mom's like, like I have to be nice. I
but
can
then
picture
but
my mom.
then she and her mom did bond
Yeah.
because the dad starts she's like, oh no, not the Japanese stories, the war stories, and
Yeah.
like that, she'd had it with that movie. And so she and her mom caught eyes, like, because then
Yeah.
he's showboating. And
He's showing
uh
because Yumi was raised in the camp and then he went into the
right,
World War II. They kind of talk through the whole thing, her dad and Yumi.
right,
The,
and the rest of them are just kind of silent for the
the,
dinner. But think about that. I mean, it is kind of like introducing a boy a potential love interest that you want to impress. And it's
everything.
so it's such there's no other situation like this
No,
where and
it
only
reminds me of,
adoptees would go through
no,
something
only
like this.
adoptees. Do you remember our very first season? We were first doing this. Andrea Ross came on, and I remember that about her that her two moms, she was pretty young too, in her 20s. Her two moms met, and the three of them all got together. And she said she just wanted to run away. She couldn't handle it, even though everyone was getting along fine and nice, and even if they're acting weird or nervous, she just wanted to throw up and run away. And that's how I can't even imagine
No, I would have felt the same. I mean, you know how it is when, especially that young, you're
yes
already embarrassed by your parents,
everything they do.
everything they do. And then to add that into the mix, it's just like,
And then Yumi was so, your parents are very nice, and I have to get home to my children.
right. They don't like, we haven't missed a Mother's Day where and
Oh,
how hurtful,
I thought that was
and,
a very callous comment, even though
and,
she's there.
and thoughtless.
They've
I
never
mean,
missed cooking for me on a Mother's Day and all this. Never.
I don't think I got the feeling Yumi just doesn't, compartmentalizes like,
Yep.
absolutely, these two have nothing to do with each other. It's a completely separate thing. Like, I think she really
Yeah.
wasn't connecting it or something.
No. And at the very end of that chapter, Susan's father is the one who says awkward kind of words too, by the way. Like, because I'm picturing that awkward. They're letting her off. They take her all the way to LaGuardia, which I'm like,
Yeah.
nice person. Um, he's he says something like, "Thank you for raising or thank you for giving us our girl.
We're so lucky. Then everybody goes into
We're
the whole
so
lucky, lucky, lucky,
lucky."
lucky. And Susan's, and I think Hume even says to Susan, "You're so lucky." And think, hello,
And she says, she turned to me again and said it again. You've been extremely lucky. I
which
mean,
is, as is the narrative of adoption, isn't it? Like,
and she
that's what
says, I
we're
don't feel so
told.
lucky. I don't feel like this is luck. Oh, I like this part for adoptees, right? They all looked at me, their faces shiny with pride and maybe a little bit of envy at my tremendous luck. Luck was when your number gets called at the carnival and you get to walk home with a stuffed bear that's as tall as you. This didn't feel like luck.
Yeah.
That's great writing because
S-
that's that weird thing to explain to people.
Yeah. Hard to explain that to people.
Yeah, it really is.
And then the next chapter is, uh, she's fails out of a semester. She's going to school for physical therapy.
Yeah.
Um, and, has kind of denied her artistic side, right?
Yep.
Because went along with what she thought was expected of her and
Yeah.
schooling. And so, um, and her parents like, well, we haven't, you have another year. We can go
Yeah.
back another year. And so then she gets a job in this mouse lab.
Yeah, the mouse lab is hard to read because of animals. Like they're all the experimental mice. She had to take care of these experimental mice. They're all skinny and being tested
Throwing
on.
them in the incinerator and they don't have
Oh
immune
God.
systems. And but really it was more
Yeah.
kind of metaphor, I guess,
Yeah.
this whole thing. But this is when Yumi tells her so they haven't seen each other now in 2 years. I think
Yeah, I
she
was
said 2 years.
surprised how 2 years. Mm-hmm.
Obviously kept in touch because,
Mm-hmm.
but Yumi's like, I'm coming to New York and if there's time, I'd love to see you. And Susan thinks, well, Yumi was saying if Susan had time, but really it seemed like at the end of the day, it was when Yumi fit her in because it
Oh
took a few
yeah.
days, and
It took a
Susan
few days.
was,
She's like cleaning her house and waiting and getting angry and checking constantly her email.
or
Did
no, it was pre-email,
was
voice,
oh
answering
answering
machine. This
machine,
was
right? She had to
still the
go.
days of answering machines. And so,
Right.
you'd have to go
Right.
home and check the end, then no blinking light. And then then she got depressed. And then finally,
Yeah.
and again, I kind of equated this with, and as did she, because so she talked
Yeah.
about they bonded and they had this amazing night and they
Oh,
were room service. It was at the plaza
sat in the
and
bed talking. No one had ever
all
listened to her
night.
like this.
Yeah. She'd never talked to an adult about like Yumi was asking her about boyfriends and this and
Mhm.
that. And then when they woke up the next morning, it was like it
Cold.
had been a one night stand. Yumi was just like down to business, get out kind of thing.
Yeah. What did you make of that? Like I felt like number one, I've done that before when I'm so detached, right? And
Hmm.
the other thing I was thinking, she must have had this wonderful night, felt so close to her, and then regretted it. Like,
Or just, I don't know if I thought she regretted it, but I more about, she compartmentalizes again,
yeah,
right? So then
yeah,
she wakes up and it's like, all right, time to get home to my children.
yeah.
You know,
This was fun.
that was fun, but
So happy we know
back
each
to
other
real life.
better. Yeah,
Back to
back
real
to
life.
real life. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're over here and this is my life. That's your life. So she's being a good mother in the way getting to know her daughter, but not being an integral. I don't know. It's very strange.
To me, it
Sad.
highlights, what just the thing about being adopted, right?
Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
you don't you're not really anywhere.
No.
Uh if that makes sense. Like you're not
Mhm.
you're put into this family, but you're not theirs because when you think about it, most adoptions occur because of
Yeah.
people that couldn't have their own babies. You're kind of not there, and then you're not in the other family, and that chapter really highlighted that for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Me too. It was lonely and sad when she left. And then she's going to wait again as being a
Hmm.
young woman, anxiously for her to come around and want to see her again. That's going to be the pattern, I'm sure, because,
Yeah,
and Yumi seems really like intoxicating to people, like just together. And I don't know.
right. And obviously the dad,
Yeah.
thought so too. Like, oh, look at it.
Yeah.
Gotta impress this lady.
Yeah, it's a curious time. It's so I can't wait to keep going and see where the relationship goes, you know.
Yeah, I
This is
know.
great writing, Susan.
Great
Thank you.
writing, Susan. Such a pleasure.
Sarah gets to see you soon in Kansas City, and I'm super jealous. It's awesome. Well, oh, what are we reading to next time?
Good question.
There's
Well,
Totaled
the
and
next two chapters, Totaled and Lucky.
Lucky.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep.
Lucky.
Okay. For those of you reading along,
Yep.
Totaled and Lucky. And again, if you haven't read the book, if you're just jumping into the podcast, if you go to the show notes, there
Yep.
is a link to the book with a code for 20% off. So,
Yeah.
or is it 25? I can't remember.
I don't know.
20.
It's a good, it's either 20
It's
or
a good
25. It's,
discount. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well worth adding to your collection.
It is. And now we're going to talk to the other Sarah. Another Sarah, I think it
Another
is.
Sarah.
Is there
Yes.
such a thing?
No. We'll find out in a minute.